Welcome to another week of Indie Dev Games here on the Game Wisdom channel. Every Wednesday night we play nothing but indie games, and these videos are the recaps of them. If you'd like to submit a game for a future stream and video, please get in touch. All the games shown are either press key submissions, demos, or just from my own personal collection. And we are starting with the submission of the game Nyaf. I guess not to be confused with Nyaf. And this is a hidden object style game, where as you can see your job is to find all the weird and wacky characters in this unusual scene. Now the game comes with different difficulty settings and options that can make things easier or harder. There are characters that if you accidentally click on, they'll add more characters for you to find in the hidden object. And as you can see by those very tiny things I'm clicking on, characters can get very small. Now, the thing about Nyaf is that at the end of the day, this is still a hidden object style game, and if this kind of gameplay does not interest you, then nothing I think you're going to see here is going to convince you otherwise to check it out. Now, there have been some evolution of the genre in recent years, including games that allow you to kind of like do stuff on the map to maybe reveal other characters and kind of elevate things along those lines, and Nyaf doesn't seem to go that far. It's just very much like a Where's Waldo-esque kind of design. So if it works for you, then have at it. But if the idea of searching for very tiny little characters on a screen here doesn't sound the most exciting way to spend your evening, then Nyaf is not going to be the game for you. For our next title, we have one that I find very interesting. This is Brok the Investigator. And what makes this game very different from a lot of the adventure style games, as you can see as I'm uppercutting and jump kicking my way across, is that this is a point and click adventure game combined with a beat 'em up with like an RPG progression system. And that is a very intriguing concept for a game. So our story is that we play as Brok, a private detective or private investigator who has been put in charge of trying to solve mysteries in this lovely city that is filled with all kinds of animal residents. There's of course a mystery involving the death of his wife, and all kinds of things going on that he is going to have to solve either by combining items or just punching things that get in his way. And I do appreciate a game that finally lets me solve puzzles in an adventure game just by breaking stuff and trying to get around it like that. And the game definitely hints at there being a lot of different avenues that you can explore in terms of how you get through the story. You can just literally go around punching and kicking things that get in your way, but people may not respond well to that. But sometimes you'll be forced into fights, and the game plays out very much like if you've played any beat 'em up over the last 30 years. And you're able to do multiple attacks, specials, and just beat the you-know-what out of any characters instead of trying to talk to them or do various puzzles. And the beat-em-up gameplay works. I don't think I would put it at the same level as stuff like Fight and Rage or Streets of Rage 4, but for something that we really haven't seen from the genre, it's definitely an interesting combination of moves. Now, with all that said, I do have a few points or a few issues with the game. There is a very clear reason why we don't see point-and-click and beat-em-up design in the same kind of gameplay loop, and that's because they feature two radically different UIs. And with Brok here, my main issue that I had is that it didn't feel 100% right to play the game with either control scheme. If you're using the keyboard and mouse, it makes it far easier to interact with objects on the field, quickly find hot points of interest, and so on. But it's not the best when you're trying to perform dodging and do multiple combo attacks. Likewise, as a beat 'em up, you want the gamepad so you can quickly hit buttons, perform combos, etc. but it makes it a lot harder to interact with the environment when you're doing point-and-click gameplay. And I'm not sure in the finished version how far things will go in terms of multiple paths, endings, and so on. From what we played in the demo, you are able to kind of beat up anyone you want, as we said, but whether or not that actually leads to new endings or just you getting your butt kicked remains to be seen. But nevertheless, this is a very interesting combination of genres, and I do want to see where things go in the finished version. I believe at this point in time that there's going to be a planned Kickstarter for Brok, and you can check out the prologue version of it available on Steam. And as always, there'll be links to everything down in the description. But if you are somebody who's either looking for a more action-focused adventure game or a more thoughtful beat-em-up, definitely check this one out. For our next game, this is the demo that we played of Echo Generation, and I really like the look and feel of this one. What we have is, what if Paper Mario was voxel based and was heavily inspired by Stranger Things? So this is an RPG adventure style game where you play as this young boy here whose town is full of strange things. There's possible aliens afoot, robots, apparently there are roaming gangs of raccoons that are trying to kill us, and we need to just kind of live our life and solve these mysteries. So the gameplay is split between the kind of exploration around the town, looking for items, quests, more people to join your party, and then you get into turn-based combat. And from what we played of the demo, I believe all the encounters are limited to what they appear on the map. So it's not like you're going to run around and boom, there's a fight. You're free to engage or disengage as you see fit. When it's time for fighting, your party will be made up of your various friends and family. And as you can see, combat is very much action command based. You're able to properly time blocks, as well as time your attacks to do more damage. Now, whether or not this game goes as heavy as Eichenfeld did in terms of their use remains to be seen. But from what we played so far, this does seem to be, I wouldn't say on the easy side, but at least a little bit more approachable in its combat. For one thing, it is just the standard, good guys on the left, bad guys on the right kind of thing. But I do have to say, I really love the look of this game. And the voxel aesthetic is used for great effect in terms of some very interesting looking backgrounds and environments, and some very freakishly designed enemies that you're going to run into. You'll gain new powers by finding comic books, and when you level up, you'll be able to choose different stats to upgrade. But from what we played of Echo Generation, it looks like it's going to be a very interesting and fun kind of RPG to play. Again, with the whole action command system, I'm not sure how far it's going to go, where they're going to take the story. But if you're somebody like me who likes kind of the more action command focused RPGs, especially one that takes place in a contemporary setting, then definitely check this one out. I don't know if the demo is still available on Steam, but it will be coming out, I believe, sometime in either late 2021 or early 2022. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for this week's Spotlight. And as always, if you're interested in my books on design, then be sure to check these out. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with horror coming by the end of 2021. For our next game, we have Hijo, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, a Wild West tale. This is a game that we got a press key for, and it is a kind of, I wouldn't say lighthearted, but more on the easier side stealth-based adventure game. So games like Commandos, Desperados, that kind of experience. Although with certainly far less bloodshed and danger in those games. We play as this boy here, who has been left at an orphanage by his mother after a bad man came. and he is now on a mission to go find her and save his family in the process. Now, you won't be doing any backstabbing or stealing disguises in this game, but the general stealth gameplay is here. Your mission is to explore each level going from beginning to end, to reach each checkpoint and move on to the next scene. If a character spots you, you only have a few moments to hide or get out of their detection radius before they're going to come after you. If they catch you, you're going to return to the previous checkpoint. Your main tools to get around them will be using your slingshot to create distractions, and of course sneaking around. When you're in the dark, only if a character runs into you will they detect you, but in the light, they had their own vision cones, as you saw there. Now, as a kind of fun side quest, you, besides having to go find your mother, you can also teach kids to have fun. And there are kids hidden throughout each level that you'll have to inspire them to just, relax and have a good time. Now, of course, getting to them is going to be considered a bonus challenge, and they'll require you to be a little bit more sneaky or deftful when it comes to avoiding detection. In terms of the difficulty of El Hijo, I don't know if I would put this in the same level as something like Desperados or Commandos. The fact that you don't have to worry about combat or kind of setting up plans like that certainly helps alleviate some of the difficulty curve and the difficulty spikes of it. If you're not a fan of the genre, I don't know if what is here is going to turn you into one. At the end of the day, this is still a stealth game built on fixed patterns and cycles. So there is a best or one way to make it through these levels. If you're hoping for the level of depth and precision of something like Shadow Tactics, for instance, or the latest Desperados game, you're not going to find that here. We played this for about, I think, like an hour and a half on stream, and it didn't seem like there was more to the gameplay. Although, it could be that there is stuff in the later missions that change things around, but we didn't really see all that much during the time we spent with it. Now, if you are new to the genre and looking for, I think, a relatively solid first entry in it, then I would say check this one out and see if you enjoy this. You may enjoy some of the more meatier and more challenging experiences that are out there. Now up, we have Teardown. This is a game that's currently in early access and may not represent the current version that's out there. But this is a game that boldly asks the question, what if we had to stealthily perform demolition? And it is my kind of stealth because, as you can see here, I am a master at being sneaky as I completely destroy buildings and roofs as I see fit. So the story is that we are hired to perform a variety of jobs that we don't exactly want other people to know we're doing until after we're done. And to facilitate that, we are in a 100% destructible world that again uses kind of a voxel aesthetic to it. So the gameplay, I would say, I don't know if I would consider it fully emergent, but it definitely, I think, gets close to that concept if it doesn't. Each mission requires you to perform certain tasks, and the challenge of the game is that as you play more and more, you'll run into tasks that will trigger an alarm. When the alarm goes, you only have mere seconds to complete your job, get to your escape vehicle, and get out. So the mission of the game turns into, how do I set up everything that I want to do in the exact order that I need to, so that I can meet the time requirements. There are also bonus challenges that will earn you more money, which in turn will let you get upgrades to your various tools, allowing you to, let's say, shoot more things with your shotgun or destroy them with your torch. And the game is kind of set up as just like one giant destructible puzzle. And there really isn't anything else like it. Now, as you saw right there, we accidentally triggered the alarm, which at that point means that we can't complete that challenge. And the game is heavily set up around quick saving and setting up and pre-planning before you start that first thing. And there is definitely something just very gleeful about playing a game that just lets you completely destroy anything and everything that stands in your way of your ultimate goal. Now, with that said, my main concern about Teardown is that this is very much one of those what you see is what you get kind of games. And you're going to know, I would say, very quickly whether or not this is a game for you. If you're hoping for, let's say, a fuller stealth-based experience, I don't think Teardown is going to go that much further. Again, your main concerns will be about the alarm systems. And if you're hoping for just more the sheer sandbox of blow everything up and just watch voxels break around you, there is a story and a campaign to it. But I would say this is one of those games that if you have even the slightest iota of interest in this kind of gameplay loop, then do yourself a favor and check this one out and just go on your own little voxel-based demolition derby. And curious to see where they're going to go with this in terms of more missions or more design as the game continues its run in early access. For our final game of this week's Spotlight, this is Unto the End. This is an adventure platformer that tries to combine the more methodical based movement of Out of This World, Flashback, and so on, with a very complicated hand-to-hand or sword-to-sword combat system, similar to the Souls-likes that we played before. And I don't think the game quite gets to that level of fidelity. So, as I just died right there, one thing to keep in mind, that the footage you're seeing is from basically the first week of playing this game. And since the game was released, I know the developer put in several balance patches. I don't know how much they've actually impacted the gameplay. So the gameplay loop itself is that we are exploring this mountainous region, trying to, I think, uncover something or save or avenge someone's life. And standing in our way are going to be orcs, yetis, traps, and so on. So the key element of Unto the End is a very kind of convoluted combat system. You're able to attack with high and low moves, you can dodge, you can parry, throw your weapon, and if you take damage, you must use a recovery item or you will bleed to death. As another aspect, you can fake swings to kind of trick the enemy to block high when you're really going to go low and vice versa. And a big point about Until the End is the general frailty of everyone involved. No character can take a lot of hits in this game before they go down. And your challenge is just trying to get in that ever important one hit that will hopefully be the killing blow. As you explore the game, this is 100% handmade. There are no randomized elements, but there are different paths and endings you can go for, I believe, based on your choices, characters that you decide to give items to or just fight. And the game, again, is trying to be like a very highly evolved version of 2D based combat. But the issue with it is that the combat just does not feel balanced right. It feels heavily overtuned in the AI's favor. The reason is that the enemy is designed to essentially read your inputs once you start doing attacks, to kind of force you to mix them up. But the issue is that all your different moves, your ability to dodge, fake swings, and so on, really don't matter, or they're not really all that useful in the grand scheme of things. You see, the only way that you're going to be able to get through some of these enemies is you need to perform a parry or a counter swing. But that greatly reduces what you're able to do and fight these enemies. As you're watching this fight, notice how quickly the enemy will switch up his different positions or his different aiming trajectories. And it's very hard, given the speed, to quickly be able to respond with an attack. You cannot parry cancel, I believe, in this game. And what that means is that it completely reduces the combat system down to let the enemy attack, let them get winded, go for a hit, rinse and repeat. And what makes this hurt the game so much is that it removes all the depth that could have been a part of Until the End and just turns into just one big QTE section for each fight. And the thing you have to realize is that in the early parts of the game, you are given far more freedom. In the other parts, as you get further in, it becomes more reductive as these enemies become harder to deal with. And I would have really liked it to have seen more valid combat options, because we've been waiting for more tactile 2D, this kind of melee focus action. But it's so frustrating to play that it makes it very hard to recommend. Now again, the game has received balanced patches since I played this, but I don't know if they have fixed any of these underlying issues. If you are somebody looking for a very challenging and difficult action game, then this one could be one to check out. But if you're not a fan of very spiky difficulty like this, then this is definitely not the game for you. So with all that said, we're going to wrap up this week's Indie Showcase here. I'd like to thank all the games that were submitted. You'll find links to them in the description down below. Check out our Discord and Patreon. Do all the liking and subscribing people keep telling you to do. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.